buildings are being invested in. Building sector particularly is not one that is dying for new money, right? It's about making the money that's already going into buildings going into green buildings, right? So it's kind of diverting the flow and using that opportunity. So I think in that sense, we are still at a very small amount of projects. The huge amount of buildings that are built every year, maybe 1 or 2% is kind of going green. Okay.
So it's only 1 or 2%
Yes.
at the moment?
Yeah, in emerging markets. I think in some of the developed countries like Europe, maybe a little bit higher, but this is where the opportunity is. All the new construction is in Asia, in Africa, in Latin America.
Especially Indonesia, we're building our infrastructure.
Exactly. So, this is where the growth is, the youth is, and all of that. So I think, the quest is to kind of expand that, 2% growth in proportion of green buildings to about 20% at least, sort of really go after that. And we have a strategy for it.
Okay, so going from this 1 to 2% to 20%, so I think it's going to take a lot of strategies. So what do you have in line for green building development from IFC's perspective?
Sure. So our approach is a four-pronged approach. I mean, so we feel like there is there's a circle of blame. So firstly, we need to recognize that why is there a problem? Why is there such low awareness? Why is there so low action, right? Okay. Everybody in the system just blames each other. So if you ask, yourself, right, would you like to stay in a green building? Yes.
I would.
Why would you? I mean, let me put it another way. Ask a person who's paying, $40 a month. Would you like to pay $20 a month? They'll say yes. Okay. But the developer doesn't know this. Developer says, oh, there's no demand. Or actually, my investors want me to build fast, and I don't have the appetite to build, investors.
Is it longer to build a green building compared to conventional building?
Not particularly. No, actually, not at all. So investors don't really realize there's a demand. So that's kind of what the issue, right? And government is sort of focused on other things, for example. So what our four-pronged strategy does is that it says, fine, let's attack it on all the four fronts, meaning let's go and educate the developers, make sure that we have a product that can easily figure out, for their design, when they have an architectural design, what are the 10 things they could do to make significant energy reduction, water reduction. We have a tool for it called edgebuildings.com, a website where they can take this buildings and they can quickly find what works. It also tells you how much it will cost. And that's been the game changer for a developer, right? So once they figure out, actually, it isn't as expensive as I thought. And actually, no developer wants to build a bad product, right? So he knows that if he can understand that these things work and how much it doesn't cost so much, he's happy to go. So that's one strategy. We are also working with governments. So we've been working in Indonesia, in fact, over the last 8 years in writing the green building codes, starting with Jakarta and some of the other cities. And that's sort of one part of it, trying to get the policy moving, but also kind of looking at them to push on incentives, right? To kind of mobilize the market, to kind of do something there. And we've had some success across the world in doing that. So that's the other pillar. We also work on the financial side. So we fund projects, we fund developers, we fund banks to mobilize finance to make the green happen. So when we make investments in buildings, we insist that that's green.
Okay, so how much investments have IFC made in Indonesia in terms to build green buildings?
Yeah, so I mean, so over the last, I would say 5-6 years, we've done $5.5 billion of green building investment. So it's been a really a growth area for our climate finance. Just stepping back, IFC does about 1/3 of its total volume annually in climate, climate finance, right? And a significant chunk of that is in buildings. So it's super important for us, and it's a very fast-growing segment for us in this space as well. So yeah, so we're super excited with so those are the 4 prongs I was talking about, but I didn't mention one other. When we were doing this, we realized actually the professionals have to be looked at. And somewhere like Indonesia, we're working with top universities across 5 different cities actually, training professors, giving them materials so that they can train the new generation of architects and engineers. So they're very clear on what works and what doesn't work. And that whole product is given, the edgebuildings.com is available for free for anyone to use. So they can quickly figure out, the cost benefit, right? Okay. So basically our method is sort of make it so, lazy for them to just figure this out. There's no reason not to do it anymore.